everybody, it's Larry. Welcome to today's video. And MyHertiage has come up with an update to their theory of relativity. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare it with Ancestry Thrulines in a specific location or two and just kind of get a feel for the differences in the two, because every tool is a tool in our toolbox, and you don't want, even though you can cut wood with a hammer and a screwdriver, it's pretty messy. It's better to have a saw. So knowing which tool to use at the right time can make a big difference. So we're going to review the tools of Thrulines and the theory of relativity on a specific case and just kind of see what the pros and cons are of each. All right, so the first one is, all right, this is to MyHertiage, the theory of relativity. If I click here on home, I don't see it. Family tree, I click more, it's not there. Discoveries, not there. DNA, it's not there. Research. So it's actually, you have to go to DNA and go to DNA matches. And you may or may not have information in this theory of relativity. It may not have had any theories for you. Okay? So that's thing number one. It's kind of like with Ancestry. You may or may not have through lines. Typically you will, but in this case, there were some that I looked at, particularly for those with DNA surprises that had abbreviated trees. I was a little disappointed that it didn't make some matches there, but I can understand that. It probably wants to have a higher degree of accuracy. All right, so we're going to view the theories of relativity. So we click View Theories. It says I have 36 DNA matches with the theory of relativity. Well, when you compare that to my Ancestry through lines, if I look out at the last video we did, one relative alone had 66 descendants on the through lines. So that's number one. There's a significantly lower number of matches, even to the point of 0, in MyHeritage's theory of relativity. So let's look at what you get. And is it good? Is it better? How does it compare? So we're going to take Ellen Oliver right here, and it says, appears in the family tree, new. Second cousin according to the theory of family relativity. Plus one more theory, view theory. So we're going to click on this word where it says view theory. And now it's going to bring up the theory of family relativity for me and Ellen Oliver. You can see it has Larkin Brown, Dolly McFarland, James McFarland, Sarah Taylor, and then you're Jane, Pauline Brown, and Ellen Oliver. Okay? Now, notice the Brown name down here. Okay, that's going to be part of this next part. But see right here, it says Ellen Oliver, second cousin. Now, what I like is the fact that here's their tree. It has two people, them and a mother, Pauline. But it's able to take my information and it says review the match. 1921, Oklahoma, 2007, father's Fred Brown, Billy being for William, Clyde Wooten. All right, looks pretty solid to me. And then it has a Nancy Wooten, Robledo. There's a Nancy Wooten. So this looks pretty solid. I would give it more than a 55%, but I guess it means it's more likely than not. I don't know how they calculated those percentages, but that's pretty darn convincing to me that that's probably going to be the right person once I do it. It tells me that it came from the website managed by them, stitched it together. All right, so with this, this is pretty nice. Now it says view another theory. This is through James Larkin and Sarah Adeline Taylor. So this is the McFarland, Ura Jane and Dolly McFarland. View theory number 2. Theory number 2 says that it's through my father's grandfather, William Brown and Caroline Clark. Clarence Edmund Brown, John Frederick Brown, Pauline Brown. Now, this is actually the same connection here because there were 3 Brown brothers who married 3 McFarland sisters. So yes, remember when I said there was a clue right here, this Pauline Brown? Okay, that was a Brown. That was part of that intermarriage. All right, so how does Ancestry pick this up if we look at William Alexander Brown? So I went ahead and pulled up the through lines for William Alexander Brown, and I looked, and you notice there's Pauline Brown. Okay, there's Pauline Brown, and there's no Ellen Oliver, but There is an Ellen Oliver right here, okay, and she does have a tree. It's an unlinked tree, but it is still a tree. So she's a DNA match at 488 over here, and you know the tree shows 3 people, Pauline and Fred, with an unknown living. And because she's not linked to that tree, then it doesn't show up here. Even though she's clearly a DNA match, clearly has a tree, it doesn't show up. So over here, she linked herself to the tree. So I can't really fault Thrulines. Now, another deal is, in this view on Thrulines, I get to see everybody who's related to William Brown. You know, there's 4 matches under Wesley, these 3 under John, 1 under Virgil, there's 6 if I expanded under Clarence, and 4 under Carrie. So I get, you know, all these matches, and over here I just get the 1. Now, this can be valuable in the sense that you're looking at a particular DNA match. All right, so let's look at another one. And I'm going to look, remember, this is my DNA match list that we're looking with here. And I want to go down to one in particular here, Andrew Saylor. Okay, Andrew Saylor, all right. And we're going to look at the theory of relativity. It says my 4th cousin once removed. Now, this is going to be in error, and it's going to be because of me. All right? It shows me to my mom, mom to Tom Seiler, 4 generations up here. And I like how it shows you wherever it stitched them together. I wish Ancestry did that, because it just, you know, it says, okay, here, here, and it makes these connections between the trees. And you can drill down and figure out where it made the connections and who has good trees and who has bad along the way. I like that it has it right here. Now, what I wish it would do, kind of like Ancestry, it would show whose tree, you know, right here it says site managed. But if you've ever dealt with MyHertiage, you don't just go to see that website. Okay, they have to be a public website, or you can't see it, and you have to ask permission to see a lot of them. It's much, much different. All right, so when we're showing that, see, it shows the matches here. It went up 2 generations, up 1 generation, up 2 generations, and connected over. Came down 1 generation, down, you know, 1, 2, 3 generations, down 1, and over. And I said this one is garbage in, garbage out. This is on me. Let's review. This is my mother, Linda Margaret Perryman, Linda Margaret Wright. All right. So it has Father Robert Cowan. Well, here it has Thomas Seiler. Mother, Treva Marie Collins, Lee Frederick Seiler, Joe Bob Jones. Dwight Neal Basie is the husband. It said Larkin Brown, Angela Jones, and Larry Jones. And so they actually have more information. Now, the problem with this is, for 30 years before I knew I had a DNA surprise, Dwight Basie was my father. I'm listed in his obituary. I have a birth certificate with him as my father. Okay? I have video of him bringing me home from the hospital when I was 2 days old. There are pictures of him and my mother and me and the family at my first Christmas back in 1962. There's the wedding, you know, certificates for him and my mother. There's the divorce proceedings afterwards. There is Dwight Basie signing over parental rights to Joe Jones when Joe adopted me and I became Jones. So all of these things are in record. And for 30 years, I researched the Basie family, believing that it was my Basie. Turns out that while pristine on paper, that in fact was a dirty tree. And right here it's come back to bite me, because now this Seiler comes up and is related to me. Now, there is a video in the channel and talks about how you cannot just add names, because the problem with this, with the theory of family relativity and with Thrulines, is garbage in, garbage out. The second thing is, this is not taking my tree into account. My tree should trump other people's trees. Yes, you know, I get it. You're trying to make that connection, and that is the logic of it. You know, you're like, okay, so maybe either Ancestry or MyHertiage needs to come up with that checkmark filter that says use your tree as primary, use other people's tree as primary, trying to figure out how you might be related. The problem with that is I have a tree with Linda Margaret Perryman. I've solved her DNA surprise. I've solved my DNA surprise. But it gives me my mother's person who signed her over in her adoption papers, which turns out was not her real biological father either, okay? And related to the Silers. Now, if you watch that other video, I'm related to the Silers. So this is my DNA match. This Andrew Saylor, that's my DNA match. My mother, if we were to pull this up in her tree or her DNA match list, she's not related to Andrew Saylor. None of these Silers are related to her, even though erroneously she was in that tree first. So there again, my mother's DNA is in the MyHertiage database. I would think that, on this theory of relativity, if you're listening to MyHertiage, if you want to go next generation, do this via the chromosome browser and the segments and map it together for us. You've got all the information. You can stitch this together in ways, and you too, Ancestry. When you come over here, you can verify this. You can say, chromosome, you match this on chromosome here, C22, 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 all right? And if for some reason I don't match these people on C22, then maybe there's a problem, or C17 or whichever one, whatever chromosome it is. I should be able to get this. There should be information here. Second thing is, I'd like to see my cluster. My dot should be right here below everything. So, I know Roots Tech is just a short time away, but boy, would I love to see my, cluster information on my through lines underneath this segment information, which ironically that new DNA match roll list took out the segment information, but it was valuable enough to have here, right? Well, let me know what the segments are. List the segments. When I click on this, instead of telling me this information, give me pertinent information to that match. Tell me, you match on 10 segments and give me, C1, C5, C12. Give me all the information. 9 segments. Right here, this person I only match right here I match 22 segments. And then half of those, 10 and 9. So, this is good info. And I would like to know which segments it is. And of course, the chromosome browser would also be nice, Ancestry. But, at least put the cluster information right here. So now I get an even better representation. Because right now I'm still doing it in my head. I cluster them all, I see it, and then, All right, so over here, I would say MyHertiage. Give me clustering. I know you have the auto cluster, but then I have to turn around and manually do it. And I have to manually do it off of your website, which makes me not want to use your website because I have to take it over here and do the leads method or whatever method I use to put it over in a spreadsheet and do my stuff to it. So if I'm doing everything over here, after a while, I don't want to go looking back and forth. My neck get stiff and doing that. I want to work at all, looking forward all here on the website. You've got to start giving that to me. And then when you do, you can have the clustered information here and then realize if they're different colors, the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit, right? All right. So there you have it. It's the theory of family relativity. Not all of you will have it. I only have it for 36 of the DNA matches. So right here it says has theory of relativity in the filters. So right here, has theory of relativity would be where you'd find it if you have any. All right, I have 17,000 DNA matches, but I only have 36 that has the theory of relativity. Pretty small, but it does do a pretty good job of stitching it together. Like I said, there is one that's in error, but that's because for 30 years it was right. On paper, it's 100% right. It's actually that line. I'm actually a member of the Sons of the American Revolution through that line, through Placard Dietrich Seiler, which ironically I am still related to. I just don't know how. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Check it out. See if you have any theory of family relativities. See if it gives you any information you didn't know. What I do like I said, is I like where it stitches them together. So, come back down here and pick one. just randomly. I like how it tells you where it's stitched together. Right here, Jacob Seiler. Here's another Seiler again. Again, I'm related to the Seilers. My mother is not biologically related to the Seilers. So, so I'm sure that this, Seiler and Brock and all that, I'm going to be related through that area, but I got to find another path to the Seilers. And when I do, I'll make a video on it. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay warm, folks. It's cold everywhere, it seems. And we will talk to you again soon.